I used to work with this crazy jerk. I let him borrow some money because he came to me begging with some sob story. We'll get into that. But just know, a few years later, I find out he turns very, very successful. Well, he wants to come back to our hometown now and start gloating. To anybody in town that remembers him, well, he came up to me and starts talking about his fiancée that he can't wait to marry, how she's perfect, so smart, so successful, so rich. Well, guess what? Joke's on him because I know her, and I know her secrets. Hey people, Brandon here, 34, male. I'm sharing a particular experience I've had with my former colleague, and somebody who'd I'd always considered a pretty close friend, Reese, 33, male. I've done so much for him ever since the day I met him. I taught him everything about the job when he was pretty much useless. I kept him in my house when he needed it, and he begged for money one day on the pretext that his dad had cancer, and I gave it to him almost instantly. It turns out he lied about it and disappeared with my money. He showed up years later after becoming some big shot. Now he's asking me to skip his wedding because his fiancée had, quote, high standards, and boy, the audacity with which he had to say it enraged me. So I decided to go to his wedding to teach him a lesson. It turns out his bride is actually a stripper from my old town and is nothing like how he described her in real life. I know this girl. Let me tell you the whole story. Reese and I were colleagues at a production factory. It was practical work, which wasn't really strenuous but required extensive knowledge and experience. We manufactured a specific part for the military, which I won't really go into the details about, but I would just say that we were the only ones who manufactured them, and we did not have very advanced machinery to do so. The company was commissioned by the government, and all the employees had to sign a contract, and we had to keep our work a secret. This was around 10 years ago. When Reese joined, I had around 6 months of experience working there. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I looked after the whole process and quality checkings as well. All my seniors were old and were mostly part of the management team. They would talk and make jokes about their wives being a pain in their butt, and I would stay quiet in front of them. Only one dude who started the company knew all the technical aspects of it. His name was Jack. We were bootstrapped and resources were pretty tight because the management was frugal. I only had 2 helpers under me who needed my supervision all the time. Soon we started getting more demand, so the management hired somebody to help me, and they did not really check who they were hiring, and they hired Reese. They thought that he had a relevant degree and thought that he'd be a fit for the job, but I'm telling you, Reese was useless. But he really needed the job to pay off his student loans. When Reese joined, I was over the moon. It would be pretty lonely because I was the only one my age. You weren't really allowed to leave once you checked into work, and it was nice knowing I had somebody new to talk to that was my age. He was my only source of sanity in those poor working conditions. Jack wanted to fire him, but I asked him not to and talked him up. It took me 3 months to teach him everything he needed to know about the job. It wasn't my job to teach him, but I still did it out of pity. I had the opportunity to be a superior, but I chose to be kind to him instead. The management would tell him off every time he made a mistake, and the helpers found it funny. I tried to cover up for him as much as I could. My seniors started paying me more as I upskilled myself and became better at the job. I could sense jealousy from Reese, however. I just ignored it. He wasn't really the type of guy I'd hang out with, but I didn't have any choices at work, did I? We both needed each other for the sake of our own sanity. So, we eventually became really close friends. We were always together at work, but we never really hung out after work. I told him everything about my family and life, but he did not share much about himself. He just spoke of hot women and movies and games and stuff like that. One day, Reese showed up at my doorstep with his bags and begged me to let him stay there. I'd recently bought a studio apartment with a loft bedroom with my own money. It wasn't much, but I was extremely proud of myself back then. Reese was kicked out by his landlord because he had not paid rent for a very long time, and I asked him where his money went, but he didn't really sound answer for it. He stayed for a couple of days, and then I asked him whether he was going to pay rent or not. He told me that he thought that he'd let me stay for free because I owned the house. He said I was giving him a really tiny space to live in anyways, on the couch. So we came to an agreement that he would pay half of whatever the bills amounted to. Reese started being stingy with everything used in the house. He did not have a bath for days to save on water bills and would insist that we keep the lights off. I mean, it was good. He wanted to save and stuff, but it was very annoying. I made a clear rule about not touching my stuff, including my food, and he didn't really understand that and would finish whatever I had in the kitchen. My mom had always taught us that cleanliness is close to godliness, but I guess his mom did not teach him that. Reese was really bad at cooking and would spend a lot of money on takeout. It wasn't really healthy for him either. So I offered him meals instead. I cooked for the both of us, and it was a big blow to my pocket, but I felt that, well, I just felt bad that he would go hungry or just have to get takeout food. It was getting too suffocating, and I had him around at work and at home, and it got extremely annoying, and I was pretty tired of seeing him the whole day. Living with him was a pain. We didn't have much in common, so talking about subjects of his interest was so exhausting, and it had started to become a bit of a burden. I wasn't really comfortable with having a roommate either. I wanted to live alone. I needed to do something, so I asked my girlfriend at the time to move in with me, and I only knew her for 2 months and did not want to take such a big step, but she was much more bearable than he was. I asked Reese to move out so my girlfriend Chelsea could move in. It took around 2 whole months and hundreds of reminders to do so, but he finally left. After he moved out, he started having beef with me at work. He would find excuses and opportunities to disagree or argue with me, and we weren't really on good terms. After Chelsea moved in with me, our relationship turned completely sour. We broke up almost immediately afterward, and I felt extremely lonely at the time and had nobody to talk to. I expected Reese to be a good friend for me at the time, but he held grudges. I felt like I was the a-hole at the time, and asking my girlfriend to move in with me just so I could get rid of him was immature of me. I still feel I could have done it a better way, and I was a coward. After a month of being hostile to me, Reese came around and started acting extremely sweet to me. All this was way back, but I still remember the details vividly, and all led up to him asking for a huge sum of money and promising to return it soon. He cried that his father had cancer, and household expenses were getting difficult to manage since he was on his deathbed, and his mother could not manage it all on her own, you know. I sympathized with him because my dad, too, passed away from cancer when I was a bit younger. I gave him half of all the money I had saved up until then. So, a couple days later, he stopped coming to work, and I discovered from my seniors that he's given his resignation months ago. It hurt me that he didn't tell me. He would not pick up my phone calls, and I resigned and left too, since I wasn't really growing or getting promoted anymore. I got the opportunity to work in a big fish area, and in a better position. Before I joined my new job, I decided to pay Reese's family a visit. I believe that he left to support his family during the tough times. I dug deep for his parents' house address and paid them a visit. I was shocked to learn that his father did not have cancer and had passed away a really long time ago, and his mother, who was 60 years old, lived alone and had not heard from her son in years. I was enraged at the betrayal, and the way he just disappeared with a huge amount of my money. Even though he acted dumb, I still considered him a really good friend of mine. Owing to the time we spent together, I'm not the one to lend money, but the cancer thing seemed pretty genuine. At the time, I was thinking about calling the police, but my mother told me to forget about everything in the past, including my struggles as a teenager, and just move on to the new job. So I never looked back. I started to grow in life, and my life was not just about getting paid and then going home to watch TV. I had normal colleagues, and I went out for drinks, and no, I'm not married yet, but I've always made attempts to find love. I still have not found the right one. Just about a year ago, Reese made a comeback. He showed up at my apartment, and I asked him why he lied, and he blatantly said sorry, and told me that he needed money to invest in his friend's business. It turns out
that the business actually made really good money and now he has 50% ownership. He had the audacity to say to me that he thought he'd do something better in life, and I told him I love what I do and I'm happy where I'm at. I told him that money does not matter to me and that I have more purpose in this lifetime. After the whole conversation, I really thought about whether I would be as rich as him if I had not given him the money. It made me furious that he went from rags to riches because of the money he borrowed from me. He didn't even work hard or anything. He just made the right investment at the right time, and he has no input whatsoever if the business he makes gets money, just except for the occasion of showing up to a board meeting and trying to sound like he knows something. He reminded me of the seniors I had in the factory where Reese and I worked. Recently, I got a call from him telling me that he was throwing a bachelor's party. I felt happy for him and thought that we were still pretty close friends, and I obliged and went to his party. I immediately regretted going after I arrived at the party, though. I felt extremely left out. I just sat in the corner with a stiff drink and was on my phone the whole time. The rest of the people at the party were being entertained by strippers. Their lewd comments made me gag, and I did not want to be around them. The party got crazier and crazier, and Reese's friends started harassing the strippers, so they left. After the strippers left, half the party left after them, and the rest of the people would not stop drinking. It was all noisy and uncomfortable. Reese took the time out to come and sit with me just as I was about to leave. He was pretty drunk. I complained that I had no idea about the wedding or the girl that he was marrying, and he talked about his fiancée as somebody rich and the hottest woman he's ever met. He praised her and spoke very highly of her, so he came to talk to me because he wanted me not to attend the wedding because his wife only wanted elites to be present there, and I clearly did not meet those standards. He said I could never even pull off acting like a rich person, let alone make as much money as his new friends and him. I was extremely furious at his statements, and I was leaving and he stopped me. He explained the issue with his fiancée and tried to seem genuine. He told me he was just kidding and I should not be offended. He told me that the tables have turned and he was richer than me, and I should be happy for him instead of offended. He also made fun of me for not even having a girlfriend, whereas he had such a hot fiancée. I decided that I would not go to the wedding, but I wanted to be petty. So I came up with a plan to embarrass him in front of everybody and make myself look good. I wasn't in the right mindset at the time and took the immature decision to do so. I put on a really expensive suit that I had rented at a posh car for the day. It wasn't that big of a hole in my pocket, but I always thought these things were a waste of money just to rent. I was adamant about showing off and proving him wrong, and I arrived at the local station at the location. And this time I did not sit in the corner. Oh no, I chose a table and sat with complete strangers. Everybody was rich, mind you. One dude caught that my car was in fact a rental, and I told him that I flew in for the wedding and I didn't like taxis. They all believed me and were pretty convinced. My stories were a little exaggerated and half-baked, but they were based on true facts, and I told them how dumb Reese was, and I taught him everything. I kept him at my house before he became some rich dude. Everybody loved me at the party. I lied that I was the owner of a company that sells chips to the military, and I told them that I had to keep things low-key because my work is a bit classified. Everybody was so darn impressed. Nobody even doubted me. I had not seen his bride, and when she walked down the aisle, I was shocked. The bride was Kylie, and I know her because she's a popular stripper in our town. Everybody would have gone crazy for her. She was nothing like how Reese described her. She wasn't rich, she worked with filthy men, and she did not have standards at all. I knew that she was the same person, and it was confirmed when the officiator took her name. That woman is trouble. For all I know, she has known for being notorious and troublesome, and she used to pickpocket whoever came from out of town and did not know her. After the wedding ceremony, I went to congratulate the couple. Kylie immediately recognized me, and I could see the blood drain from her face. The whole thing was so darn satisfying, so I did not want to ruin it by telling Reese that she was a stripper, back from my hometown. I made sure the whole interaction would be awkward for her, and she met me afterward outside the bathroom and offered to strip for me and do me some, favors? Yeah. She said that she would show me a nice time if I agreed to not tell Reese who she really was. She said that she was too old now to be a stripper, and she said she wanted to marry rich and live luxuriously for the rest of her days. I told her that I did not care and that I was not going to tell Reese about her anyways. I taunted her by saying that doing favors for other people was not very loyal of her. I could clearly see she was offended by what I said, and I walked away. The fact that his bride hit on me during his wedding was an added bonus to my revenge. I wanted to tell him to make me feel bad, but it was best if I kept quiet about Kylie. I knew Kylie was a jerk since she was in the same high school as me. She wasn't in my class at all, and well, everyone knew her since she loved attention so much she dropped out of high school because she was struggling in her classes. Kylie threw tantrums at the wedding too. She complained about how everything was not top-notch like she wanted it to be. She told off the waiter for being ugly and ruining her aesthetic of the wedding. She fought with Reese about how the wedding decorations turned out. Now, I understood why he was saying she was high maintenance. She was ordering him around and Reese was listening to her so she would not get dejected about anything. I was kind of happy about how things turned out, and I raised a toast at the table and talked about our old days. I revealed the truth to everybody about how he lied about his father's cancer, took money from me, and never paid me back. I made sure everybody knew that he just got lucky, and I made all the money that made him rich. Everybody knew him for who he was now, and Reese just awkwardly laughed the whole thing off. Everybody appreciated me for being such a good friend to Reese, and at the same time, everybody was passing dude comments that Reese just got lucky in life. I wanted the whole world to rub it in his face. The attention I was getting, and Reese was going pale about it with utter satisfaction. People even made fun of him for not returning my money despite being so rich now. They made him write me a check for fun. Of course, I cashed it in later. I got my money back and got my revenge. Guys, I'm planning on investing in multiple ventures in the hopes that my life will change too. I know his married life is going to be a disaster, and I honestly thought he was a really good friend of mine until the bachelor party. I've done so much for him out of kindness, but he just took advantage of me and never thanked me for it. I feel happy knowing that he's there just because of me, but at the same time, I wanted to rub his stupid face for being so ungrateful. If he still does not realize he's an a-hole who just got lucky, I hope that karma hits him hard. I don't want to discourage anybody from being kind to somebody in need. I just wanted to share my story with you. It's something I cannot let go of. It's a big deal to me, and I'm a mix of hurt and envy. I also want to ask everyone whether I acted immaturely at his wedding. I have issues setting boundaries and saying no, but I got so mad when people are ungrateful. I've been told by a lot of close friends, especially my mother, that it's wrong of me to expect something in return. I think it's a me problem. I still can't get it out of my head. It took me a long time to move on from it when he ran away, and it's gotten worse since he's came back. I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated, so if you have any advice for me, please let me know. Update number 1. Hey everyone, I've got updates on Reese and his hot stripper wife. They say some people just simply never change. And Kylie, well, she did not change. They went on an exotic honeymoon afterward, and they spent a huge sum of money on shopping for Kylie in the short span before and after the wedding. Kylie would tell Reese that she would leave him if her demands were not met, and Reese would comply. He had to, hear her bickering all the time, however. Reese eventually found out the truth about Kylie because Reese's friend Tony recognized her from the strip club and told Reese the truth with images of Kylie at his bachelor party having a good old time. Tony told everyone that Kylie used to be a stripper. Reese had become a joke of the town and everybody laughed at his stupidity. He bragged to everybody about how rich and posh his girlfriend was, and it was all a lie. Men would make sleazy comments about their wives, and it was all going really badly for them. Kylie's demands were not, well, too much for him as well. Ugh. He decided to divorce Kylie, and Reese got a lot of hate from a feminist group, which slammed him for divorcing somebody just because she was a stripper in the past. He got threats from them and put up hateful comments on his social media accounts. Reese had to delete his beloved social media and change his number because of the whole situation. Kylie hired a really good lawyer to make sure that she got a good amount of money after the divorce. So, Reese had never asked Kylie about her profession before they got married, so Kylie proved that she did not withhold any information with him, and she got a huge chunk of his wealth after the split. She kept the clothes and all the jewelry that was bought for her, and he was humiliated and single, and he had lost a lot of money. The whole divorce drama damaged his reputation too. Kylie made a whole scene about everything, and Reese called me after the divorce and told me everything that happened. He described to me how betrayed he felt about what Kylie did to him. I was listening to him yap my ears off. The satisfying part about it was that he finally knew how I felt. I had the opportunity to rub it in his face, but I took the high road and decided not to. Kylie also received a small share of his share of the businesses, and lucky her, she immediately moved on and found a new guy shortly after, and the whole thing was difficult for Reese to process. He just kept calling me to tell me how he felt, and all of it was getting so repetitive. He was not able to move on from the whole thing, and now he knew exactly how I felt. Karma really worked well, and he started drinking and smoking excessively afterward. Currently, he's going through a really bad phase in life and just dwelling on it. I do feel bad for him, but it's kind of satisfying at the same time. I feel like I got my revenge. Update number 2. Hey guys, I've got way more tea on my ex-colleague Reese. It's really saddening. The poor dude has been having a really bad phase for the past year. Ever since he got married, it's like his life has turned upside down, and I guess this is what happens when you, well, take what you have for granted. People who take things for granted do so because they have them so easily. He took advantage of the fact that I was helpful and respectful towards him, and now people take advantage of him because he's, well, simply gullible. Reese was not able to show up to work because of all the drama, and even though he didn't do much, he still had to show up because a lot of decisions were under his authority. Even though they were just for the name's sake, his absence from work caused an argument between him and the founder. Reese blindly trusted everyone there, and he signed without reading a lot. The other directors and the founders took advantage of this, and they would do all sorts of illegal activities through him, and they got caught one day. All the blame was put on Reese because he authorized everything with his own signature, and Reese had no idea in real life, but on paper he was behind everything, the mastermind. Well, Reese spent a huge amount of money to bail himself out, and when he went back, he found out that he had signed off his shares back to the company. The founder made him do so without his knowledge, and he was not needed in the company anymore because they could not use him to mask their white-collar crimes. He's been cheated by them and used just for their benefit. He did get a huge amount of money from his shares, but this would mean that he was not getting paid by them anymore. I doubt he's smart enough to use the money he has to make more money. The first time worked out really well for him, but I don't think it would work again. After getting kicked out of the company, he was just rich, lonely guy who had nothing to do. All his fake friends would just make fun of him and laugh at him, so he stopped interacting with those people. I was the only friend that he had left, and he's been seeking therapy and has issues. He's been calling me for the past few days because he has no one else, and I've only been responding when I wanted to. He wants me to be available for him all the time, but I'm not going to be that person for him anymore. I'm not going to be the last option for anybody. Even though he needs me, I think he has enough money to live his life and get back on his feet. The only thing he doesn't have are friends and family, and he would not be so insufferable if he wasn't a selfish, lying swine. I think he deserves what he got, and I really hope he realizes, but even if he does, it's too late to make amends. The damage is done, and now he's suffering alone. Update number 3. Hey, it's Brandon again, and I was going to stop at the last update, but I thought that this was one really important one to tell you since all is really involved now. I thought that things could get, worse for Reese or better, but they got a lot worse. Reese was dumb enough to change the locks on his house, and Kylie still had a bunch of keys to the house and the safe. Kylie got back together with her high school boyfriend, and they both decided to do a little heist. Kylie and her boyfriend broke into Reese's house. She knew how to disable the security system too, and they had fun in his mansion. They stole a lot of stuff and loaded it into a truck. Whatever they could not steal, they broke and damaged out of spite, and they ran away with all the stuff that they stole. Reese came home absolutely drunk and did not realize a thing. He passed out on the floor of his living room. His cleaning staff called the police the next day, and there's no point because Kylie and her dude had absconded before the police could find out it was even them. They went to another country after selling everything to a big dealer and stolen arms. The police could not do much. Reese's insurance had expired too, and he had kept huge wads of cash in the safe, amounting to a lot of money. All of it was stolen. I'd say around 40% of his entire wealth was gone. Of course, he still had the other 60 at least, but the whole thing was absolutely devastating. Reese has lost more money in bad investments too. Things were going downhill for him fast, and he badly needed income if he wanted to continue living the lavish life he wanted. After years of service and loyalty to my current company, they decided to promote me, and now I'm the youngest person to be on the board of directors. I've also made pretty good investments with all the money I saved, and I'm getting pretty good returns. Of course, it's going to take years before I want to cash it all out, but it's all leading to a rich retirement, and upon seeing this, Reese came to me begging for help and a job. He's also been just trying really hard to hang out with me, so he feels less lonely. I was the only one who ever listened to him and tried to understand him, you know. He knows that he could never really find a friend better than me. I told him I'd get him a job, but he's going to have to get an interview, like a normal person. So he came for the interview, and I asked him questions that you normally would. I did not ask him trick questions. I didn't make it unfair to him, but he couldn't answer any of them. I asked him about his previous company and work experience, and I told him he's rejected by my assistant. He came back to my office and threw an absolute tantrum. I told him he was an awful friend, and that I'd always helped him ever since I've met him. I told him I'm never going to help his ungrateful butt ever again, though, and he doesn't deserve it. He barged out in frustration, and the next day he called me and told me he was sorry. I just hung up and told him never to contact me again. Now, he has no one to talk to anymore, and he tried to contact me multiple times afterward, but now I've kicked him out of my life for good. My final decision is now, and I won't be hearing from him anymore, and there won't be any more updates from me either. I've decided I'm going to post more about my job because a lot of young individuals requested a post on career guidance for people in tech. Anyways, thank you for reading and for your support. Your involvement means a lot to me, and I hope my post is a lesson for everyone who can't say no to people, and for those who take people who help them for granted. If you're an a-hole to people, you're going to be surrounded by fake friends and are going to end up alone.
Alright guys, I want to review this one comment that I found because a lot of people in the comment section did not agree with this comment. It's about Reese, and it has to do with OP. Wow. OP, this story was a wild one. While I get that Reese screwed you over, it seems like you revealed a bit too much in his downfall. It's one thing to distance yourself from a toxic person, but to intentionally rub salt in the wound, it seems petty and vindictive. You seem to lack a level of self-awareness about your actions and take pleasure in seeing somebody else's life spiral downwards. It's clear that Reese is not the only one with growing up to do. Honestly, this post reads like a scripted drama, where you, the quote, wronged hero, get to bask in the limelight while your former friend's life crumbles. Real life isn't this type of story, and people aren't just, well, made up like this. Anyways, if you are real, I think you're the a-hole. OP, definitely, you need to get some help. So guys, that commenter was not very happy with OP. A lot of people came to the defense of OP saying, are you out of your mind? Reese deserved every single thing that he got. So I do want to know whose side you guys are on. Are you on OP's side or Reese's side? Drop your comments downstairs in the comment section. Thank you for joining me today. Go ahead and subscribe for daily videos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. But do remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.